We all know making mistakes is a part of life. We can say it intellectually. We can get all enthusiastic and, you know, uh, share quotes and uh, talk about it. But when it comes down to actually making a move, that deep down you really don't know if it's going to work or not, or if you're making the right choice. There's a part in every single one of us that hesitates. I don't know of anybody who doesn't at least hesitate in the face of possibly making a mistake. That's Bo. I am in a Airbnb because we're getting a boatload of work done in our house, and I needed someplace quiet to come work. And so I am so grateful that I'm in this beautiful Airbnb and got to bring Bo with me. And he's continuing to get settled in. Now he's after a bird. Anyway, I digress. So we're in the middle in our company of really stepping out into a new initiative. And I realized this morning I had butterflies in my stomach. It's I know very little about it. It's an area that I really I've avoided because I was afraid of making a mistake and it potentially could be an expensive mistake. But when I go back to my dream, my mission, it's actually my mission of helping you build out a life that you absolutely love. I realize that this is my next step. And so, as I am in the throes of learning how to do this and putting things in place to pull the trigger on this, I realize I need to give myself permission to make mistakes, that I'm not going to get this perfect right out of the block. And guess what? I'm never going to get it perfect. And this is the kind of stuff that can freeze people. And it can sound so logical. Now is not the right time. I don't have enough information. I'm not prepared enough. Um, there are other ways to do it. And all of those are true to a point. And then at some point, you got to be willing to say, this is it. This is what I need to do. This is my next move when it comes to building out the life that I know I am meant to build. So, how do you stare that voice down? How do you stare the voice down that says, yeah, but what if you make a mistake? So, let me give you a couple things to use in the face of that voice. First of all, say to it, you're right. I could make a mistake. And guess what? I probably am going to make a mistake. But my dream is bigger than the mistake. So right now, I want you to literally write that one down. My dream is bigger than any mistake. There's no mistake. And please hear me when I say this. There are really when it comes to building out your dream, there's very few mistakes that will just do you in. Now, if there's a series and you just keep how do I want to say this? You kind of just keep blinding, uh, stumbling along and you insist on one way working, then yes, it will probably do you in. But you're not doing that. Most people don't do that. What happens is you make a mistake and you're not quite sure how to recover for it, and so you freeze, you stop. What I want to suggest is that mistakes are part of the process. Now, that is so cliche. I'm always embarrassed that it came out of my mouth. It is so cliche. Yet, we can know a cliche and still not act in the way that we know we're being called to act, that we're still not willing to step out and experiment and make a mistake. So, here's a couple things to keep in mind. First of all, your dream, when you're building a dream, it's bigger than anything that you've ever known for yourself before. There is a learning curve. And so I want you to really give yourself some room and claim, I don't know how to do this. Doesn't mean that you can't learn. I'm not saying you can't learn, but when you're starting out, say, I am aware and I acknowledge that this is a new skill. This is a new skill. I am learning a new skill. I'm giving myself permission to have a learning curve for my new skill. And so then rather than mistakes, I'm going to encourage you to see them as you're building muscles. You know, um, um, yeah, we'll just go with that. That shift from, oh my gosh, this is a mistake to I'm building a muscle. And part of building the muscle, so like I loved to mountain bike, and we went riding last week, and I got up to a rock garden and had a little bit of a spill and had a boo boo. And yes, I made some mistakes, but more than anything, it was a learning opportunity. So those seemingly mistakes, again, at the risk of sounding cliche, but this is why cliches are so, um, why they stick around. If you can trust that you know how to learn it, that you can learn something, and that you will learn from your mistakes, you will be more willing to step out and take actions that have huge potential for quote mistakes. So give yourself permission to have a learning curve. Then I want you to, as you're stepping in and taking a risk, because this is what we're talking about when it comes to building your dream. It is required that you take risks. And as you're taking the risk to claim for yourself, there is a power in me that's bigger than any mistake. There's a power in me that's bigger than anything that can happen in the face of a risk. And I want you to tap into that power, um, knowing that that is what's guiding you, that there's really nothing bigger than the power that's moving through you, that you truly are connected to a source that knows all things. And the more you can ground yourself in that, the more willing you become to take actions where there's risk, where there's a potential for mistake. So number one, trust trust the learning curve, give yourself room and honor the learning curve. Number two, really start working with there's a power in me that's bigger than any mistake. And number three, rather than, what happens is that people make they say this is it, this is definite. I'm going to encourage you to experiment. Say, you know what? I'm doing an experiment. I'm going to take this action for the next fill in the blank, put it in a period of time, say for the next 60 days, the next 90 days. I'm going to grow in my skill and my ability to do this, and I'm experimenting with it. And I'm going to pay attention to the feedback this course of action gives me, and I will see if this is something that I will continue or not. That way you're not stopping it because you made a bunch of mistakes, but you're realizing, you have a criteria, and you're realizing, okay, this is not necessarily meeting my criteria. I've given it time, I've learned, and I wanna move on to something else. That's different than saying, oh my gosh, this is a horrible mistake, I need to stop this now. Because you feel the difference in that? Feel the difference in the energy? You did an experiment, you got the feedback, and you're simply shifting your trajectory, your path. You want to give it a long enough time for you to learn it and for it to show you what it can do or what it's not going to do. So when you're building your dream, mistakes are part of it. Again, I know that sounds cliche, and it's really owning it. I mean, really owning it, not just giving it lip service or having a conceptual understanding, but realizing, hey, Michelle, talking about that mistakes absolutely are necessary. So, uh, being willing to know that you have a learning curve. What are you learning from it? That there's a power in you that's bigger than any mistake. And it's not that you're making a mistake, you're in an experiment. You're simply experimenting with the best way to do something. The quicker you can recover, the more momentum you will gain, the more courage you'll have to take those big bold actions, and the more your world will reorganize and reflect accordingly. Michelle, I hope this serves you. Hi. So again, I have a free masterclass coming up August 18th, 8:30 to 10:30 Pacific time, where we're going to dig deeper into the formula of how to create that life that you absolutely love. The link to register is up in the description. Join me, and let's really lean into what's required to move from where you are to where you want to be, making mistakes all along the way. Your willingness to make mistakes all along the way. All right, know how much I deeply love and appreciate you. My name is Felicia Searcy, your Dream Life Activator. Your dream is the reason I exist. Mwah. God bless.